Today I'm going to talk a little bit about student engagement. It's kind of a broad term. I mean, if you've ever had someone ask you how you would define student engagement, I know personally I just kind of stand there like, you know, I don't know, man. So if I was to reword that question to something a little more specific, like say, how do we build a generation for the future? Well, I mean, I guess that's not much better. But I can't really answer that question, but I can tell you that student voice, in my opinion, would be one of the most important factors in education because when you're educating someone, some form of empowerment is necessary, where if you aren't empowering, you're simply dictating. And let's be honest, no one likes to be dictated to all the time. So, and that's why I think, anyways, that we see a large lack of motivation in our classrooms. There's no larger stakeholder than the student in their own education. So who better to have a voice in their decisions? So the best way to teach someone, from my observations anyways, would be the best way that they learn. I mean, it's pretty obvious, is it not? Engaging students and how they are taught will actually interest them in what they're learning, whether or not it's something that they may be interested themselves. So you need to empower your students to choose how they learn. So I remember this class that I took a while back. The teacher who taught this class was one of my favorite teachers, great person, but he forgot to engage his students. So essentially we sat around we sat around doing boring tests and, reading stuff on the computer. And let's just say the class was a little bit of a drag. The best example that I could find for it would. Near the end of that class, after giving some feedback and that sort of thing, he ended up assigning a project. And this project essentially allowed the students to have say as to what exactly or how exactly it was that they were going to learn this material. So now what happened, which is very interesting, is that, and something completely unheard of in this class, is that people were actually interested. And and they actually performed well in this. Having a say in how you learn is going to give you some sort of, what's the word, accountability to what you're learning and the work that you're putting forward in class. So engaging students in the classroom would be just the foundation of giving your students a voice. Now, we often find ourselves asking why, and many of you that are teachers probably hear these questions all the time. Why is this rule here? Why do I have to take this class? Why is this important? And I think the even more important question would be, who even makes these rules? Now, usually it's the Board of Trustees, a group of men and women who, to be honest, most students wouldn't recognize their picture. Now, don't get me wrong, the Rocky View's Board of Trustees have done an outstanding job, and engaging students has been a priority of theirs. Now, I personally have experienced this as well, and this may be a familiar yet somewhat unfriendly sight. So, Rocky View had used Barracuda Web Filter to block internet access, and to put it bluntly, it blocked anything that was actually useful. So in 2011, I had written a letter to my trustee, and I was invited to one of the board meetings to present my case. At the end of it all, well, first off, I can't tell you how intimidating it was sitting, presenting to this board of trustees, most of whom I've never seen before. But at the end of it all, after waiting a few weeks or months, Rocky View ended up changing its system. Now, I can't attribute that all to myself. Of course, there was a lot of dialogue on changing the system prior to that, but I think the most important thing about that would be that it not only improved learning among students, but it proved to students, including myself, that we actually do have a voice. And I think that students offer a very unique perspective that may not always be observed by administration. So because of that empowerment, I think I have worked my way up into something a little bit bigger. As mentioned before, I am sitting on the Discern committee. So I am the chair of this committee, and essentially we are made up of high school students from around Rocky View. And we operate to enhance, I suppose, the term stated in the acronym. So student consultation, engagement, representation, and networking. Um, Now, last year, I was the vice chair of this committee, and I think being in the chair and vice chair positions have given me sort of a unique perspective on the impact that this committee has had. Um, Even just working with the students on this committee, I found that a lot of them have actually grown to be excited about Discern, and thus that excitement is going to transfer into their own schools, into their own education, and going to empower them to actually be interested in what they're learning in their schools, and once again shows the students that they truly do have a voice. I think students having the ability to have input on what affects them most is one of the most important aspects of education. And the reason for this being is that once we graduate, there's nothing more important than real world skills. And that's exactly what this is teaching us. Because I can guarantee you, most of you are still waiting for the day that you actually use y equals a bx minus h plus k. Thank you.